Hello and welcome, people. It is I, Iron Raiden, back yet again with another new topic of discussion. Now, I have to go ahead and give my take on this new Uncharted film that we have coming out. The trailer was just released recently, and okay, first of all, I am a pretty big fan of this franchise. I mean, as far as capturing a cinematic experience in a video game and really giving you that sense of adventure and fun and excitement, feeling like you're really in control of all of that, it gives you that in spades, I would say. I mean, you could not be that big of a fan, but you gotta appreciate what the Uncharted games have done. It's basically the modern day Indiana Jones in a video game form. Now, the video game film history is not very pleasant. Hell, even the last Mortal Kombat movie that came out, I was greatly disappointed with that. That to me didn't even do any better than the 95 film. That I would say is a better adaptation as opposed to what we got with that. Sure, they gave us the R-rated gore fest in all of its glory, but for the most part, that no. But with this, it being Sony and them using their golden boy Tom Holland now from Spider-Man fame, this is them being real sneaky bastards because they know that they can use a name like Tom Holland and on the side Mark Wahlberg as young versions of these characters, Nathan Drake and Sully, to try to sell this film. And I'm going to try to be fair about it because I know that, yeah, Tom Holland, he does look like a young Nathan Drake. Even Mark Wahlberg, I can twist just enough and try to see him as like a 30-year younger version of him if you really want to go. I mean, I don't have that big of a problem with Mark Wahlberg as much as maybe some other people. You can say what you will about the guy personally or whatever. But I do think, you know, in the right film, he's an entertaining guy for the most part in certain aspects, if you utilize him the right way. But them doing this, it's just some real sneaky shit because it's like it's giving you what you want, but not really. Because they may be faithful to the characters to an extent. You got to get the adventure aspect. Hell, they're quite literally ripping off an action set piece from Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception with the whole plane flying and the cargo crates just hanging off of it. You know, hell, even that was taken basically straight from the Living Daylights, Timothy Dalton's first Bond film from '87. That's pretty much stripped from that. But they're taking. So is it in continuity with the games, but we're copying and pasting shit from the future to put it in the past? Honestly, I don't really know. I don't really think so, but at this point, it really doesn't matter. Because what they're giving us young Indiana Jones when they could just give us full blown Indiana Jones, like a grown ass man actually doing this shit. That's what they're trying to do. And that's what it is. They've taken their golden boy and Tom Holland to try to utilize him, knowing that he's done the Spider-Man shit, and to try to sell it that way, because it's giving you what you want, but not really. That's all it is by doing these younger versions. But at the same time, no one wants to see that. Hardcore fans of this do not want to see young Nathan Drake. We've seen that in the games. In 3 and 4, they've elaborated on his past and him being a kid. And to be fair, looking at and knowing it's a February release, I don't really know what that means anymore as opposed to what films are like January and February releases. Hell, the last Bad Boys was released in I think January, and that was surprisingly, you could argue, the best of the series. But I don't think it's going to be a terrible film. I do think it's going to be at best, like just hey, that was fun. You know, they had some funny moments here and there. Walking away, you're gonna forget about it the next day. That's how I feel about it watching this trailer. It just gives me that vibe. Like the last Tomb Raider movie. If you go, it's very similar to Uncharted, especially with those newer games. If you look at the Tomb Raider, I was disappointed in that too. I felt like it had all the aspects. It had the look and feel of the games. Alicia Vikander, I think it was, that played her, was just fine. I just felt like that movie didn't hit a stride, and for the most part, it was just boring as shit. And it had a lot going for it for the most part, but it didn't hit for me. And I feel like it's gonna be similar to that, better but similar, where it's just yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of fun with it. You can see that at a matinee and just forget about it the next day, and that's all you're gonna get from it. If you go back and look at the games quite instantly gave you a cinematic vibe. More so with two, you know. I mean, I know, like I said, I know the first ones are probably a little bit dated compared to the other ones, but you always had that cinematic, big adventure, epic vibe with these games. They were already cinematic. You were handed this franchise on a silver fucking platter, and yet you're just like, nope, gotta make it difficult for ourselves. So we're gonna do this instead. I'd be like, you gotta be stupid. And on that front, yeah, you have a game franchise that, yeah, you recognize the voice. It's like Nolan North doing the voice of, like, you. That's very much, he's very much synonymous as far as his voice goes with that character. And going through the series, we already have that sense of vibe. It's not live action, but it's damn near close, especially once you've played Uncharted 4. Very close to like almost a cinematic vibe. And them trying to replicate that, and it's easy but not really, because again, it's so much already on that level, and you're already attached to these characters the way that they are in such a way to try to recapture that on screen through recastings. I know could be a bit tricky, but you had you had chances to make this so much more bigger than this. I mean, it's honestly insane as to how you had such an easy layup, but you just decided to, like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna go for the jump shot downtown and miss it completely. I'm just like, what is wrong with you people? It just looks too generic. It's just you're not gonna walk away from this film remembering anything. You're just not, and I know that. I just know it going into it. You're just gonna be like, yeah, it was fun. It was fine. Not terrible, but yeah, I'm not gonna remember that. That's what it's going to be. That's exactly what it's going to be. And many people touted for a Nathan Fillion. I 100% get that. I do. But I think that's like casting 10, 15, maybe 15 years too late. I don't think he's fit for that anymore. I really don't, if you tried to give an adaptation for that. Me personally, now, some, like, if you're watching this and if you don't know who I'm talking about, Brett Dalton, he was on Agents of Shield. His character, he had a character named Grant Ward on that show. He had different iterations of that character as the seasons went along. If you had seen it, you know what I'm talking about. He was actually one of the characters in Until Dawn with like Hayden Panettiere and a bunch of other people in that game. Rami Malek, where all the characters looked exactly like them. They voiced them and everything. Me personally, this guy, if you're not very familiar with him, I suggest looking into him, because he himself, very down to earth, very charismatic, very funny. I do think his voice kind of is reminiscent of Drake, and he does look the part. Now, aside from, oh yeah, a name to draw in for box office and all that shit, besides that, if it were me, if I had control, if I could actually do this the way I wanted to and have faith in it, I would have gone with him, because he is a young enough actor. He fits the part, and he has enough charm and enough charisma to actually pull it off. And I'm very much like in a small minority, because a lot of people may not realize that. But for me personally, he actually would have been a good choice. But that's just me. I mean, you could have cast Elena from the games, because she looks just like her character. She obviously sounds like her. Gone with her. You could have gone with a Bruce Campbell for Sully. I mean, you could have done. There's so many other options you could have done to have at least given fans more satisfaction with this film. But what they're doing right now is just like, why? We don't want to see prepubescent Nathan Drake. We don't want to see this shit. It's just an absolute waste of time. It's just gonna fly by and just gonna be like, yep, that was a thing. They technically have an out, if you could consider it that way, where, oh yeah, Tom Holland, he could do 2 or 3 films, and then after that you do adult Drake, and then they cast it properly then. I don't know, but regardless, it's still very much stupid, stupid, stupid. But I'm not in charge, so what do I know, right? Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Remember, I am Iron Raven, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.